Hello everyone, it's FarsTrapa. Today very happy to see you again for a new video. Today is the continuation of my series on the Canadian 2025 federal election, and today I'm going to summarize for you the Liberal Party's platforms and program and promises. So without further ado, let's get into it. So like always, I will firstly present the leader, which is Carney, and then I will present the main points of their proposals. So for those who don't know, I made a video a couple weeks ago about this whole content series I'm doing on my channel this month for the election. So please watch that general presentation video if it's not done yet, because I do make some important disclaimers in it. But if you don't want to waste your time, you can also just watch this current video directly. And of course, as you can imagine, I will do this concept for the 4 main parties in the federal Canada. So I already made the video for the Green Party, and I have the Conservatives and NDP to do. So I'm very late because the election is in a week, but it's really not my fault, as the parties have only released their full programs this weekend, so I couldn't really do anything faster. So yeah. And now let's get into the main point. So first, the leader, which is Carney, who was born on March 16, 1965 in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. A graduate from Harvard and Oxford University, he served as governor of the Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013. He was then appointed governor of the Bank of England, a position he held until 2020. In March 2025, following Trudeau's resignation, he was elected leader of the Liberal Party and became the 24th Prime Minister of Canada. So now let's get into the proposals. So first of all, the Liberal Party has a plan that's called Build Canada Homes to face the housing crisis. So they promise to build close to 500,000 new homes per year. And to do that, they want to create an organization called Build Canada Homes to bring government back into the housing sector. They promise $25 billion to prefabricated home builders in Canada and $10 billion more in low-cost housing financing. Secondly, the LPC really wants to accelerate the interprovincial trade between our different provinces. So they want a bill to eliminate all federal barriers to interprovincial trade and labor mobility. They want to ensure mutual recognition of skills, so things such as diplomas and qualifications between provinces. They want to make access to Prince Edward Island more affordable for things like the Confederation Bridge or the Northumberland ferries. They want to lower the cost of those transportation. It's not really new, but the LPC also promises to build a high-speed train between Windsor and Quebec City. And to finish, they promise $5 billion for a trade diversification corridors fund, which will build new ports, railroads, airports, highways, and more. Thirdly, let's talk about the Liberal Party of Canada's plans for justice and society. So first of all, they want to authorize consecutive sentences for serious and violent offenses. They want to make hate-motivated murders such as feminicide first-degree murders. They want to criminalize distribution of deepfake sexual content without consent. They want a bill criminalizing intentional obstruction of access to any place of worship, educational institution, or community center. And lastly, they want to criminalize intimidation and threats against people attending such places. Let's talk about the Liberals' plan for agriculture. So first, they want to modify the role of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the regulatory agency so that they also take food security and cost into account in their decisions. They want to protect supply management in all negotiations with the US. They promise to increase the agri-stability program ceiling from 3 million to 6 million per farm to protect farmers' income. They want $200 million on a domestic food processing fund. They promise also an additional $30 million for the agri-marketing program, which will enhance assistance to farmers. And lastly, they promise to double the loan guarantee limit under the Canadian Agricultural Loans Act from $500,000 to $1 million and also extend loan terms by 20 years. 5. Carney wants to support Canadian companies, and that starts with a new procurement strategy that prioritizes Canadian suppliers and materials. He also wants a $2 billion strategic response fund to deal with tariffs. He wants to increase to $6 million the maximum that Canadian companies can claim under the Scientific Research Tax Incentive Program. He wants to inject $1 billion into the Venture Capital Catalyst Initiative, a 20% tax credit to companies for AI adoption projects if they demonstrate that this technology creates jobs. And lastly, they want to double the funding for the Union Training and Innovation Program from $25 million to $50 million. 6. Let's talk about Mark Carney's propositions on health. So first, he wants to increase the number of places in medical schools and build new medical schools. He wants to make it easier for foreign-trained healthcare professionals to work in Canada. He wants to invest $4 billion in the construction and renovation of hospitals, clinics, and more. He wants a refundable tax credit of up to $1,100 per year for personal support workers. He wants a youth mental health fund which will provide mental health care to 100,000 youth per year. And lastly, he promises $500 million more to the Emergency Overdose Fund. 7. Let's talk about Mr. Carney's motivation on professional training. So first, he wants to maintain the removal of interest on student loans and Canada Apprentice Loan. He wants a new apprenticeship grant of up to $8,000 for registered apprentices. He wants a national license for physicians and nurses. He promised to create 100,000 new early learning and childcare spots at $10 per day by 2031. 8. Here are MC's stances on immigration. So first, he wants a target of 12% francophone immigrants outside of Quebec by 2029. He wants to cap the total number of temporary workers and foreign students at 5% of the population by the end of 2027. He wants permanent residency admissions to be less than 1% of the population each year beyond 2027. And lastly, he wants to train 1,000 new Canada Border Service Agency officers. 9. Mark wants to make light modifications on the tax system. So first, he wants to reduce the tax rate on the first income bracket by 1%, which according to him would give up to $825 more per year for a two-income family. He promised to eliminate the GST for the first-time home buyers when they buy a home with up to $1 million. He promised to automatize the tax filing, and he wants to establish a set of international tax rules with partners in Europe and the G7. To end, let's talk about the Prime Minister's proposals about security and safety in our communities. So first, he wants to implement a buyback program for assault-type firearms. He promises to automatically revoke firearms licenses of people convicted of violent crimes. He wants to recruit 1,000 additional RCMP officers. And lastly, he wants to allow police to search and seize drugs in Canada post-mail. Lastly, to end the video, let's talk about some of the flash proposals that didn't make the list of the 10 most important, but I think are still worth talking about. So first, he wants to build a east-west power grid. He wants to expand fleet of aerial drones and submarines. He wants to invest $200 million in repair and maintenance of small craft harbors. He promised to create at least 10 new national parks and marine protected areas, as well as launching the Canadian Nature Protection Fund to restore old growth forest, among others. He wants to expand Indigenous Guardian program to include 50 new Arctic Indigenous Guardians. He wants to temporarily increase guaranteed income supplement by 5%, so the elderly would gain up to $625 per year. He promised a new in vitro fertilization program which will cover costs for up to $20,000. He wants to create a Canada Strong Pass from June to August 2025, allowing free access to national galleries and museums for children under 18, plus free seats on via-ride trains when traveling with parents, and also free admission to national parks and historic sites for everyone. Lastly, the Liberals want to increase CBC/Radio-Canada funding by another $150 million. So it's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I will make the episode for the other parties in the coming week. And I also already made the video for the Greens. So if it interests you, go check it out. And for today, well, it's the end. And I say see you in the next one. Bye everyone. It was FarsTrapa. Ciao.